All right, hey guys, this is Denny. Denny's a local barber that's been in the industry for 10 years, and he's going to bring you curly hair from the captain's chair. All right, Denny, so what are we doing today?
Alright, well today I'm going to show you guys how I do a nice curly top with a nice low skin fade.
Sweet.
I do these a lot in the shop, and so, you know, for how often I do them, I'm sort of got a really good, efficient way of sort of banging them out in the shop.
Cool. Awesome. All right, let's get to it.
Sweet, let's do it. On curlies hair, I normally start by doing just the sides. Sometimes I'll cut the top down first, depending on how long it is. But in this case, because it's such a tight curl, I like to do the sides first and sort of just see how it drapes over before I go through and sort of saturate the top. So all I'm really doing is I'm just wanting to just wet it enough that I can come through and section out my top and my sides.
It sort of holds itself.
It just holds itself, yeah. And the dirtier it is, the better it seems to hold itself. Sweet.
So obviously we're going to do a skin fade, Denny.
We're going to do a skin fade, right?
So you're going to start with a one guard?
I like to start with one and go and sort of follow the sort of the temple point and sort of drop it below the occipital. The best thing that I ever learned in barbering was learning how to actually fade out, clipper over comb, fade out a one. That was the pivotal point for me, when everything sort of really started to change, and I really was able to really get into, you know, I guess my style of barbering, and just sort of like a loose hand action, just nice sweeping C shapes into my one, leaving almost like a 10mm sort of gap, just enough that I'm sort of doing two jobs in one go. I'm setting a guideline in a way, but I'm also fading it out at the exact same time. If you are in a really high-paced shop like I am, and you know some days it's absolutely manic, and you've got like 5 skin fades in a row. You know, this technique is just a really awesome way to be able to deliver really nice soft skin fades.
I think the key word here is soft skin fade. You see a lot of those real harsh, low fades that have a really strong transition.
That's it.
But with this, I suppose what we're trying to show today is keeping the fade soft, keeping the transition from the skin to the one through to the clipper over comb.
That's right.
Really soft.
I don't tend to focus just on one side. I like to go around and do the whole thing. I feel a bit disjointed. I feel very disjointed if I just do one side and then do all that and then come through, do the back and just do all that, and then, you know, I feel like I don't get as smooth of a flow. I'm doing it extra low today because every time I do it really high, Curly gets in trouble. Well, sort of.
Go high, man.
Get in trouble.
My wife gets a weirded out part. I'm cool with it though.
I'll actually start at the top, and I'll set my clipper at my guide at the very top here, and then from there I'll just fade down basically.
So what boilers do you like to use?
These barberless ones are the best boilers just
and have
ever.
You used
and I've used a few. So I've done my one, and I've done the skin fade now. So now it's time to join everything into the top. What I first start with is I'll take the ledge out first, just to create a bit more of a join before I come through and start taking the weight out of everywhere else, okay?
So what is the hardest thing in barbering you found? Cutting wise?
What's the hardest thing? Just trying to do flatties.
Flat top?
Flat top. And you know, the schools don't really make it a point to really spend a lot of time doing them. At least it wasn't when I did mine. So you can see that's starting to really soften out now. So what I'm going to do from there is I'm going to start taking my body out through the top now. And when I do it, I'm not bringing one to the other. I'm bringing them both together, and that creates my stability and my confidence in every single pass that I do. So I use one finger to keep me stable, whether or not that's like my hand, depending on how close I'm getting, or if I'm quite far out. My finger will keep my comb hand steady, but then it allows me to then bring my clipper and my comb in together to really create that stable and controlled pass. All right. So I've taken pretty much all of my weight out now through the sides there, so I'm pretty much at the optimum length that I want to be through the top here. Now I'm going to do the last sort of little join now, which basically I bring my little one and I play with my one and sort of 1.5, and I just do a quick join of that line. It's really not a whole lot, like it'll probably flick out pretty quickly.
So, what brought you to barbering, Denny?
What brought me to barbering? Well, I originally, so when I left high school, I actually started a visual arts degree. I sort of wanted to prove my parents wrong that I could do some form of like tertiary study, like my sister could, and that I could complete something. I got 6 months in and became an art school dropout. I was like, all right, well, I'll go get an apprenticeship. And so I tried all the classic avenues. You know, I tried to get Sparky, builder, carpenter. Couldn't get anything. And Mum actually said to me one day, she goes, why don't you try hairdressing? She goes, you're all very creative and whatnot. And I thought, oh yeah, all right. And, 10 years later, here I am showing you how to do a skin fade. I got lucky. I finished my apprenticeship and I sort of did that 10 months at another salon before I landed at Bare Bones. And it's been like 8 years later. And here I am.
I find personally, using the blow dryer actually helps soften the fade, and it actually
pulls
the fade out, and
Yeah.
when you come back through with a clipper over comb swipe, it helps take that
Yeah.
little bit more, it just finishes it a bit more.
I haven't had to stop, but I had to shit so bad one time, I was halfway through it, and I was like about to finish a haircut, and I was like, yeah, cool, right, we're done. I'm gonna right, we're done. Let's get you out. So I go to the toilet, and then the guy goes, oh, can you trim my beard? And it was a huge beard too. Like he wanted it to be like completely nearly lopped off, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I was like, and so I spent the whole time standing there, clenching and just like in agonizing cramps, just like it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. And I've never done a beard trim so fast in my life.
All right. So Denny, what do we?
All right. So we're gonna.
How do you approach curly hair? Do you just pull and drag sort of thing? Trust your sections?
I trust my sections. I don't cut curly hair any too much different to how I would cut any other hair type. Even if the customer says to you like, "Oh, can you thin it out because it's too bulky?" You're actually better off going shorter to remove the bulk that way than you are to run thinning scissors through or any form of texturizers.
Couldn't agree more. Well, we're seeing a lot of those trends hit barbering right now, where we're seeing a lot of sectioning.
Yeah, a lot of sectioning, scissor swinging,
a lot of complex cutting.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Look, if it works, it works, right? I like to live life pretty simple as I can, and I like to try and keep my cutting style as simple as possible. If you're in a hectically busy shop, like if you're just in a walk-in shop, you know, and you sort of need to and you're only sort of allowing like, you know, 25 minutes to 30 minutes for a haircut. Sometimes you don't have time to, you know, go through and do all those fancy sections. That what I've just done there is pretty much just achieved. That's the top done.
There you go.
Super simple. You know, by just keeping everything solid cut on the ends, the curl just wants to hold together so much better, right? Than if I tried to go through and break that up. So when I come through and now style it with some foaming tonic, the curls are just gonna suck it up. I am a big fan of the new foam tonic. I use it in pretty much every cut, whether or not someone's going to style it or not. It's the best leave-in. It's the best pre-styling product. It's just bloody awesome, right? And it's the best product in Curly's hair. Between that and salt spray, but I love using the tonic.
It just binds the curl together.
Just binds the curl. You can either, so for someone like Curly, like you could get like that's what's so great about the new tonic is that he can set and forget. So you can, when the hair's damp, put the foam tonic through, scrunch it all through, and you could walk out the door and just let it dry, and it'll dry really, really nicely like it is now. We can also diffuse it as well, which is what I am going to do today, so we can get a nice sort of finished result. Get it down to the roots, but what that does too is it helps to stretching it out, and then I can bump it back in. Whenever I use a diffuser, I very rarely ever push it past lowest speed, lowest power, because what you want to do is you want to be able to sit it on the head without burning your client. Lowest speed, because if you have too much velocity coming out of the diffuser, like it will start to move things around, and what will happen is you'll still have a curl, but you're going to make it fluffy. But I mean, it doesn't take much to just move it.
Yeah, you don't want to break it. But
Yeah.
You just want to move it in, eh?
That's it.
That's sweet. All right, so fresh cuts from the captain's chair with Denny. Curly hair, here we come. Yeah, bro, looks good, man. Nice and low, tight, you can see the flow of it. You've kept the corners on the curl, so it gives it a nice shape.
Yep.
Stoked.
Good old.
Looks good. Woo!
It's like you can't ever jump in.
I know.
Nail, brother.
Who'd have thought it?
Looks good.